Hi, I'm Charles, and I'm a beekeeper that loves old bee equipment. Many of you have enjoyed the German Clockwork smoker video that I did, and I saw an opportunity to acquire a broken Vulkan smoker that was a much rarer model. There isn't much documentation out there about it. I don't know when König made this particular model, but I suspect that it was an earlier version of the Vulkan that is from the 1950s or before. I used a little WD-40 here to make sure that the key was able to be unscrewed. It was on there pretty tight. And this, my friends, is where it all went wrong. When I pulled out the mechanism, one gear was loose. It toppled out and it took all the gears with it. I did indeed record what happened, but I'm very ashamed of that video because I'm cursing loudly and banging on the workbench after that happened. I decided immediately that I would clean the gears and let them soak in WD-40 and call a clock repair shop before I caused more damage with the smoker. It has been a wild 2 weeks since I began filming for this video. While I was taking this thing apart and I pulled the clockwork out, the clockwork opened up and gears fell out, and there was no way I was going to get it back together with my skill set. So I took it to a local clock shop, and the man did an amazing job on it, putting it together, repairing some things that were broken. He said it appeared somebody had been tampering with this thing before I got to it. Probably a bad repair job, but it's fully repaired. The braking system works on it, and there's actually 3 modes for this. There's the running mode, which is like this, and the inlet is able to suck in air and then send it out the top to feed the fire chamber. And then there's the running mode that is right in the middle, just like this, where it's running, but it's not sucking new air into the inlet. This is what the older Vulkans did, but they don't do this. They didn't do it in the later revisions of the Vulkan. But I prefer to just have it off when it's not running. This Vulkan here is an older model of it, and it has a few issues we need to fix. We do need to fix a couple little dents in it. That's not a problem. It does need cleaned off because it is filthy, and it could use a new paint job, frankly. It needs to be painted black again. But even more concerning is there's no bottom to it. The bottom did not come with it. It's probably long gone forever. It's somewhere in Germany. This beekeeper definitely loved pine straw as fuel. Isn't it cool that there's no hinge so the top comes off? The problem is with old smokers that don't have a hinge, the tops get lost. In here, you have the small fire chamber. Right now it's caked, so we got to clean that up. The exterior of the smoker definitely needs cleaned up. Down below, we actually have old pine straw that got pulled into this chamber that is meant for the mechanism. On the bottom of this, we also have pine straw that is just caked in here, and I know it's harder to see here on the camera, but we'll clean that up too. So what we're going to want to do, give it a citric acid bath, try to get as much of the paint off as we can, give it a good fresh paint job, and make ourselves a new plug. we got everything nice and shiny and we got the layer stripped off of it. There's still a little caking under here and I can't quite get the wire wheel in there. I'm sure if I used a different attachment I could, but let's see what a brush brush will do. Okay. Like the other Clockwork smoker, we have these small holes and I really just poke a screwdriver through. Not stab it, but just poke it through. That way we press the gunk out of each individual hole here. Because I can't open this thing. See how crud is just falling out? There's still plenty caked in here, but because we don't have access, we kind of have to poke at it. Now that doesn't look perfect, but for the most part, my smoker sits on a shelf, and I want it in working condition, but I don't need it to be perfect. And I know there are many people in the revitalization and restoration world that are all about, let's try to make it as new as possible. Now I use a thin screwdriver for this, and I move smooth enough to where I won't impale the thin wall of this smoker, because you don't want to do that. I have broken smokers that I've been working on before, or at least caused some damage that I had to repair. That happened quite a few times with one of the really old bellows-driven ones, the Funston smoker that I've done on my channel. I broke that wood 3 or 4 times and had to clamp it and glue it together and repair it. It happens. It happens. Let's see how much was in there. Okay, good. We got that out, and it's far from perfect, but we got most of the cake stuff off the walls. The mouth of the smoker was bent when I initially got it, so we're going to fix that. I wrapped tape around these pliers because I don't want to scar into the metal the little knurl that exists on the pliers. Now here it is in pre-paint form. We're going to take the cover off, take it outside, spray paint it, specifically with the kind of paint that you use for a grill, which I think I got down here. Yeah, this is high heat paint. You do not want to use regular paint on a smoker if you ever plan to fire it up. It will begin to bubble on the exterior of the fire chamber. Just use the same heat you do for grills. On top of it, if you ever have, like in the last one I had to use filler for the metal, there are also heat resistant fillers. Those are ideal. And if you just want a display item that is up on the shelf, cool. I guess you don't need all that fancy stuff, but it's not much more money to get a heat-resistant paint. Not ideal painting weather today. We're going to do our best. Oh, hey, kitty cat. I'll let you back in there. There you go. Let's shampoo the cat. Not great light out here, but we got it pretty well. We'll see if it needs a second coat. And here we are, post-paint job. Let me bring this a little closer so you can actually see it. You can actually see the company initials there at the bottom. And everything is nice and smooth now, the way it was when it was original and nice. We still have a little bit of bending in here, and I'm not too concerned about that. I might be able to fix it, but it is looking good. The top came out well too. The top was already in pretty good condition, and this just made it a little bit better. Now we could improve, because if I look hard enough at the smoker, there are a few places that the paint got a little runny. We could wet sand that and make it perfect, but I don't feel the need to do that. The inside is a little dirty, and I'm going to work on that with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. I don't need to necessarily get it perfect. I just got to make sure there's no gunk, because I don't want that ending up inside of the Clockwork mechanism. Now the bottom here is a little over 1/4 of an inch, maybe 5/16 of an inch. So we need to get a bottom that's about that size, and we can use numerous things for that, really. We could go find a piece of plywood that is the right thickness. We could use cardboard if we really want to, and I might do that at least as a temporary solution. This thing is a bit of a beast. It's actually 4.5 inches in diameter here. I also forgot about the key, which is on the outside of the smoker, so I decided to clean it up, and it's really neat. It has a brass shaft and a probably tin top to it, so it has a really neat color contrast. Now, the thing I'll warn people about, because this is a rarer version of the König smoker, a rare version of the Vulkan, this key actually screws on. You don't just pull it out the way the König does. So you could damage this thing if you didn't know that. You might think, oh, it's just stuck on there. No, it's screwed in, and it goes the opposite way that the gear does when you turn it. Now, I've been considering my situation. I think it would be best if I went on Etsy and I found somebody that would just make that part for me. I could have made it with cardboard, I could have made it with wood, but I would like something that's a little more flame retardant. Because remember, we are dealing with a smoker. And even though it's going to spend its life pretty much as a display piece while it's in my care, I want it to where it functions and it's fine, but I'd like to do it right. And, you know, you probably wouldn't have a problem if you had a wooden bottom in it. You could coat it in plenty of things that would impede it burning. And it's not like the smoker's really going to get that hot that far below, because it's above the fire chamber in a place that doesn't touch it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind this up because I want it to be as small as possible, and this tension spring here comes out, and we're going to put it back into the smoker. So let's wind it up. And right now the brake is on, so it fully works, but you just adjust the brake and it will begin turning. Now the trick to this one is different than the standard Vulkan. Pardon, let me turn that brake off. This is where the brake is going to go, and this is where the key is going to go. So the first thing we have to do is we need to take the key off. It goes the opposite direction of the wind up. Then we're going to put it under here, and if we had a bottom, we would put it on. But now, believe it or not, this is it. And because it has nothing to rest on, it's only going to rest on, oh goodness, there we go. It's only going to rest on this key holding it in. And that's no good. It's going to bend the sides. It might bend the shaft for the mechanism. It's not an idyllic situation. It's enough to have it run right now and for us to have a little fun. And here we go. Now it's in place at least. And I don't like that it just isn't resting properly. That's going to put some weight on the shaft right there, which isn't any good. And it's going to kind of put a little bit of weight on the shaft for the brake. But now it's running. Alright, let's do this. Light a piece, drop it in here, put our top on. Alright, and let's undo the brake and get it smoking. Alright, and let's shut it down. Here are the two Vulkans. The one on the right is the more common model, while the one on the left that we worked on today is the rarer of the two. And I would presume is the jumbo model, but I have to be honest that the fire chamber really isn't that much bigger. It's a little larger. The smoker is the thing that's bigger. They're both neat. I'm glad I have them in my collection here. So I want to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.